We are just outside Kunoma village here in Nagaland, not far from Kohima. It's Asia's first green village. Produce rice and garlic, lots of garlic as well. They produce it's all organically produced. They explain everything. You're not allowed. I mean, you can kind of record there in the village. You just need to pay 5,000 rupees for that. You can take just videos and stuff like that for your personal use, but not for uploading to any sites. Right, so we're therefore just outside and with a mountain view there. Exodus chapter 12, verse 24. Obey these instructions as a lasting ordinance for you and your descendants. Another, this explanation of that they need to do this as a lasting ordinance. So this is not a once-off thing. This is not a do it and forget about this, but they need to be reminded over and over and over and over again every year of what God did for them. Okay, that is like how in South Africa, for example, the Day of the Vow, how it used to be called, now is whatever day it's now, National, not Unity Day. Oh, whatever. I'm sorry. I haven't been in South Africa a while. They changed the names after I left. But anyhow, so when the Boers made this vow to God to keep this day as a Sabbath, if God gives the victory then over the Zulus. And we did win in 16th December 1838. But anyhow, so what I'm just trying is it's something that we still, when we grew up at least, every year celebrated as a remembrance of what God did for us. And as if you look on a Christian level, your salvation, for example, how God led you out. Every Sunday you get the chance of, not every Sunday, once a month, in most Protestant churches that is, you get the chance of celebrating the communion and or the Eucharist if you're Catholic. There's just a Catholic church over there. The 60% I think of the villages here are Baptists, and are some Catholics and a few Pentecostals. They're all here Christian. Right, so that is as well the first thing why we need to do it is a remembrance of what Jesus did. Not every Christian is going to have this day that he converted, you don't give your heart to Christ because you can't give your heart, it doesn't belong to you. God gives you first a new heart, so therefore this new heart you can give back to him. Right, maybe that is more correctly stated. So there's then this, what they need to be reminded of, I don't know, there's a bee on me a bit a while ago. Anyhow, I don't know if this is a fly or a bee. So yes, they need to be reminded continually of what God did for them, leading them out of Egypt. Verse 25, when you enter the land that the Lord will give you as he promised, observe the ceremony. So not just for now and in the future when they're on the way to the promised land, but when they enter as well this land that God promised to them. Right, then they need to as well observe the ceremony. So it's not just a question of, so while they're in the desert on the way to the promised land, they need to be reminded, and the moment they enter the promised land, now they can forget about it. You know, lots of Christians are a bit like that. No, they need to, when they enter as well, observe this, keep on observing this. Verse 26, and when your children ask you, what does the ceremony mean to you? Then tell them, it is a Passover sacrifice to the Lord, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt and spared our homes when he struck down the Egyptians. Then the people bowed down and worshipped. So if the youth asked them, the children asked them, and that's ought to happen, like, why are we doing this? Like children asking about the communion. Why do we do it? We need to explain to them, and not only then, but we always need to explain to them ultimately what what God does for us, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So when they ask, then you are supposed to say the following, that this is a Passover sacrifice when God passed over, right? So pass over. He passed over them because he saw the blood on the doors. Again, I explained to that because they knew that was the sign of their listening to God, right? That is for their sake, that they were not, God was not just going to pass over just because they had to do, right? They had to do. But remember, God did first. So this is a Passover sacrifice. They need to tell and retell their children of how God passed over their houses and he killed off the firstborn of Egypt and spared their children. In answer to that, the elders hearing this from Moses, they bowed down and they worshipped. Now, they didn't bow down to Moses and worship Moses. They just bowed down and they worshipped ultimately God, because this is God's doing. In a certain sense, there might be this thought of them acknowledging, and in this way as well admitting to that, yes, they will do this, right? They submit themselves ultimately, therefore, by doing this to God, the words of God through Moses, and then this is like their yes kind of idea, but ultimately in front of God, worshipping God. Verse 28. The Israelites did just what the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron. So as God commanded them, they did. Like Noah before, as God. Like Moses here before. Like God after the supplications or prayers of Moses did. As God commanded, they ultimately did. Okay, I will move just a bit, because we're not allowed to record in the village itself, and I don't want to break my word. So if I go up, then that is kind of the village already. So I don't want to do that. It's not right. We're not kind of YouTubers who goes and don't care and break the rules just because we want likes or views or any kind of nonsense. One needs to keep your word. Respect the local cultures. Either pay or pay money, you can do it, or respect, and respect them at the same time. Okay, that is then for now. So we'll move up. There are a few waterfalls and some other mountain views.